Welcome to the Random Bites podcast, available on Spreaker.com, iTunes, Google Play, and just added to iHeart Radio. A new podcast every day featuring interviews and a unique take on the world we live in. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Random Bites. Here is your host, Alan Wayne. Well, good evening, and welcome to the Random Bites podcast live. This is not recorded. Well, this will be recorded, but this is recorded live. One take, no clipping, nothing like that. I felt compelled to come on tonight and to address the wave of hatred that has been going on in this country the last few days and for many, many years. Now, what I'm going to say on this broadcast may upset some of you. And what I'm going to say may not be the politically correct verbiage of this time. It may not even be the politically correct opinion of this time. There may be some that don't agree with me. There may be many that don't agree with me. All I ask, and this is all I ask, is that nobody just take this, nobody take this to mean anything other than just my opinion. That's all it is. It's one man's opinion, and under the First Amendment of the Constitution, I have the right to speak my piece, just like everyone does, just like every single protester at that rally did. So tonight we're going to get into some pretty deep subjects. You can join me on Skype. My name is Alan Wayne Productions. Just let me know you're going to be calling in either by chat or by some other means, and I will be happy to patch you through. But tonight's going to be some pretty heavy topics, and all that means is that I think that's the real key to healing the divide in this country, is talking about the heavy subjects, not burying them, not defeating them with violence, not becoming violent at all, but having a dialogue, and not just where one side screams at you for being a certain race or having a certain belief, and you have to sit there and take it. I don't think that's even. From what I've been hearing from some people I know, that is kind of what is expected these days of quote-unquote progressive Caucasian Americans. I'll be using that term quite a bit because I hate the term white. White is... it's just not a term I like to use, because think of it this way. You walk into a room full of people who appear to be of Asian descent. You walk into a room, and if you were to say something like, wow, look at all these Chinese here, you might get a few looks, because the Asian area is made up of so many different countries and nationalities that are so unique. So everything is, it's so unique that for you to walk into that very room and say, hey, check out all the Chinese, you get looked at funny, right? You walk into a room of white people, it's, look at all these white people. And that's supposed to be okay, right? That's supposed to be fine. You don't say, they could be Irish, they could be French, Nordic, Slavic, the list goes on and on. English, Canadian, it could be from anywhere. And yet it's okay to throw that blanket onto white people. Yet you dare not say anything about a certain race like that. You dare not blanket another race. Right? Right? Is that how it works? There are double standards brewing in this country right now that are so blatant. The media is in on it. The machine is promoting it. People are putting the words racist to things that don't even mention race. because you have a certain viewpoint that has nothing to do with racial bias, you could be called a racist or a bigot. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about this because this is not the America that I think anybody wants. And I'm talking about left wing, right wing, down the middle, dead center, every way. I don't think this is the America that anybody wants, except those few that are looking for power and attention. Call out the attention seekers this evening. On both sides of the aisle, there are attention seekers, people who want to come out and just promote themselves. It's not about a cause. It's about, look at how badass I am in front of a television camera. Let's be real, folks. Let's be real. A lot of this crap that's going on, such as the destruction of monuments, is all about grandstanding. You think that girl who toppled that monument in the Carolinas was doing it because she had a real distaste for Robert E. Lee? No, I think she did it because a bunch of her friends cheered her on and said she was the coolest thing around if she would do it. In fact, I think she was dared to do it, and she did it. And now she's been arrested. Hello, Jimmy Reason. Welcome to the chat room. Good thing we got some reason in this place. But we got to call things the way they are. I think that's another problem, is take a look at situations and call them as you see them. That's what President Trump did. He's getting blasted for saying that there was blame on both sides when both sides of the Charlottesville gathering, protest, Donnybrook, when both sides of that were violent. It wasn't just one side. As far as I know, there were peaceful protesters, and then they were joined by some idiots, and then some other idiots came by to stir up the pot. Yes, I said idiots. Charlottesville was the biggest collection of idiots this world probably has ever seen. There were probably bigger collections of idiots in the 40s and some other times, but huge collection of idiots in Charlottesville doing what idiots do. Making a big deal out of straight up bullshit and not acting right. And that's exactly the type of thing that is going to drive this country into a place I don't think any of us want. Any of us sane, logical people, anyway. I don't want to have to look over my shoulder more than I already do when I walk down the street. I don't want my children to not feel safe when they go somewhere because they could be oppressed by their color. Now, the thing of it is that there are people who will say, well, serves you right. You've oppressed us. I didn't do shit, man. I didn't do anything. My family is not racist. My family, we believe in, we're cool with every race. We don't care about what color you are or anything. As long as you're cool to us, we'll be cool to you. And that's exactly the way I'm teaching my children. Not to be prejudiced, not to be racist, but to be kind until someone gives you a reason not to be. There's a lot to talk about. I'm going to gather up my thoughts because right now they're this jumbled mass of fire. But I'm going to play you guys a parody. Do you know what a parody is? A parody is a song or a remake of a popular song with different lyrics that is meant to be humorous. Take that into consideration when hearing this wonderful parody by Rucka Rucka Ali.
I was gonna steal a car, but I'm white. I was gonna steal it and drive real far, but I'm white. Now I gotta walk around and not know why. Yeah, 'cause I'm white. because I'm white, because I'm white. Da 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 da. I was gonna break in your house, but I'm white. Come on, yo. I was gonna take your TV and your couch, but I'm white. Da da da. Now I'm shopping at IKEA, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. Da 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 da. I was gonna run from the cops, but I'm white. I was gonna run when they told me to stop, but I'm white. Da, 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 now I got a jaywalking ticket, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. Da, 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 da. I was gonna smoke some crack, but I'm white. I was gonna throw my life off track, but I'm white. Da, 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 now I gotta go to college, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. Da, 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 da. I was gonna shoot some thugs, but I'm white. Sucker. I was gonna kill them and take their drugs, but I'm white. Da, 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 now I'm paying for their food stamps, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. Da, 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 da. I was gonna drink some Sprite, but I'm white. That's some good shit, man. It's good. A little malt liquor would've also been tight, but I'm white. Da, 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 now I'm sipping mocha lattes with soy on the side. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. Da, 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 da. I was gonna rob a bank, but I'm white. Was gonna take the money bag and say thanks, but I'm white. Da, 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 now I gotta work on Wall Street, and I know why. Why, nigga? Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. Da, 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 da. I got me a real good life, cause I'm white. I got me a house, dog, kids, and wife, cause I'm white. I could retire when I'm 40, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I wrote this song of mine, cause I'm white. They're gonna call me racist online, cause I'm white. And if a black guy beats my ass up, I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. Da, 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 da. Yo, man, you try that new Greek yogurt? Oh, yeah. Good shit, organic shit, man. It's a good shit, man. Yeah. I can't wait to invite over them new neighbors, man. Give them some kale chips. You know what I'm saying? That non-dairy, non-fat skim. Yeah. That's my shit. Oh, man, I just got that new Prius, man. You see that shit? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was just at the proctologist, dog. Yeah. What's that? That's a doctor for your asshole. I've been paying into my 401k. You don't pay my taxes and shit. Fucking IRS got me on audit. You catch them CMAs? Yeah. I got this new washing machine too.
Jesus Christ, that's funny. Because I'm white, Rucka Rucka Ali here on Random Bites. Random Bites is live this evening, not pre-recorded like usual, because I got a few things to say and I felt inspired to share them with the masses on iHeart Radio and iTunes and Google Play, and not on Spotify. They don't like me because I don't tell stories. So that was a parody. A parody is something that makes fun of a situation. Now, when my friend, I have a friend, and I don't want to sound like the typical white racist. You know, I have a friend who's black. This guy is just he's a friend. He's moved out of state. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but he is one of the most awesome people I've ever met. His name's Randall G. Frazier. This guy was working where I was working a few years back, and he was woefully underemployed. I mean, this dude came up on some, I don't know what happened, but he ended up working in the same place where I was, and he was woefully unemployed. This dude had a degree, had his life together, everything was going well, and something happened and he needed a job for about a year or two, and he came and graced us with his presence. In the time that I got to know this guy, he kind of gave me the lowdown about what the real struggle is between blacks and whites, or between African American and Caucasian American, if you want to make that distinction. He told me about his experiences about being pulled over, several DWBs driving while black. He told me about his various different instances of racism and what his mother told him as he was growing up. You are going to run into these differences. Here's how you handle them so that you can continue. I know it's not fair, he would tell her, or she would tell him, but it is what happens. It's life right now. But if you just keep your head straight, don't be an idiot, you'll be fine. Turns out he's the CFO of some major company now. Guy's rolling in money and success and doing a damn good job. I gotta give that guy a call. But, we went over the obvious, why can't a white person use the word nigga? Well, it's because it was a term of slavery, and it was a term of detriment to African Americans. That's why they've decided to kind of take the word back in a rather bold move. Some people will say that this is not a good word to say, like Bill Cosby, before he, was outed as a creep, started to talk about you're disrespecting yourself by using a slave term. Whereas the way it was spoken to me was, it is a term of empowerment nowadays. It's like they've taken ownership of the word. This is the same guy who in the year 2020 said, when I'm president in 2020, I'm going to send all the white people to Ireland, first class. And we'd have a hell of a laugh about that. I'd say, sign me up. I want to go. I want to get out of here. And we would discuss various things like the ridiculous names in the NFL draft. Like one that comes to mind is DeBrickashaw Ferguson. And we'd come up with our own names. We'd come up with our own draft names, like Ladishaquis Jumpin' Jack Jenkins. Just these weird names. We go back and forth. We'd laugh. We would laugh so hard. And he would dog on white people who were like, hi, I'm white. Yeah, he'd dog on white. And I would laugh so hard. You know what that's called? That's called camaraderie, cooperation. That's called looking at all of this racist nonsense and realizing exactly what it is. It is nonsense. That's why whenever anybody jokes racially, unless it's truly mean-spirited, I really don't have a problem with it. If it's somebody joking about their own race or however it goes, I don't really have a problem with it. And as long as they are willing to engage in some sort of dialogue. Guys like George Lopez, who would bag on Mexican Americans all day long. It was most of his act. Him and Mencia bag on Mexican Americans all day long. And Mexican Americans, yeah, it's great, it's great. Excuse me, cough button didn't work there. But if somebody else said something, it's kind of like, your sister. I can call my sister a whore, but you don't dare. Or I'll beat your ass. He was very, very touchy about that all, and very touchy about Donald Trump being elected president. So, could it be, now I want to put this out there for a moment, speaking of Mexican Americans, could it be that there are actually people out there who agree with the border laws just because they're the laws of the land, and they happen to be Mexican? Yes, there are tons of Mexican nationals who believe that the border should be secure. You don't hear about those. You hear the sob stories on the media about a gentleman who's been living here 25 years illegally, right under the nose of the government, being deported. You hear about these people who are being dragged away from their families. You hear the sob stories. Those are meant to tug at your heartstrings, to make you think, well, they should stay. Ronald Reagan granted amnesty one year. And that I still feel is a good solution, because if people are here, then they should remain here, because it's more trouble to send them back and do all that rigmarole. Get them, like Ellis Island, man, get them, I don't want to say tagged, because that makes people sound like animals, and I don't want to do that. But get them identified, get them registered, get them in here so that they can start paying taxes. So that they can start working for the country instead of for themselves. And what I would never understand is the money being sent back to Mexico. You know, that is their second largest source of income, is money being sent back from the United States to Mexico. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Pardon me for the long pauses. I'm going through a cough. It's one of those bothersome coughs that takes a long time to heal. It doesn't really bother me when I'm doing anything other than, I don't know, talking on the air. But when I'm coughing, I sound like I'm dying. I don't want to be doing that, so I decided to press the cough button. So, okay. So you got, I mean, there just seems so backwards. Everything just seems so backwards. Like logic is not being practiced in the world today. Their logic has been thrown out the window, and it's not a race thing. It's just logic. Facts are being thrown out the window in favor of fiction. But I did find something cool, and this is from a guy who identifies himself as some black guy. So if anybody's going to come off and say, you're a racist, you just said, oh, some black guy did, this is the guy's channel name, Some Black Guy on YouTube. And I'm going to play his clip for you.
I can't believe I have to say this, but it's not okay to punch Nazis. Welcome to the United States, ladies and gentlemen, where we have laws and we have the First Amendment, and under the law, we can't just attack people simply because we disagree with them on a political or ideological level. I'm seeing way too many people applaud the efforts of the Antifa commie scumbags for attacking a lot of these white nationalists, these alt-right people, these KKK neo-Nazis, and they're saying, for the justification, it's that, hey, we're Americans and we fought these Nazis in World War II. We hate them. They're scumbags. And I'm like, yeah, that's all well and good. But here's the thing. All those people at the rally, the people that were with the tiki torches and their stupid flags and all that, they're not soldiers. This isn't Normandy Beach, man. This isn't a war. You can't just go and fight people and try to kill them or whatnot. And that's the type of shit that's going on. And it's getting blown way out of proportion because we're losing sight on what America really stands for. The First Amendment, freedom of speech, the right to assembly. And these people, if they're peacefully protesting, peacefully assembling, they have every right to do so, and you can't just attack them. And one of the worst things is people that are just defending these Antifa commie scumbags for doing just that. And I'm like, dude, we as Americans, we hate communists too. These people that are all in black and stuff, carrying the hammer and sickles and stuff, and then they hate capitalism, and they're just fighting everybody, rioting and burning shit. You're siding with those idiots. And I'm like, dude, do you guys not remember that we hate commies? Do you not remember the Red Scare? Do you not remember the arms race and all of the bullshit and all the hype around that? It was a big deal, man. We don't like Nazis and we don't like commies. But the thing is, we don't side with commies just because they're fighting Nazis, man. No, we act like actual Americans. We abide the laws, and we find better ways to combat this trash. Oh, Derek, but you're defending the Nazis. You're defending the white nationalists. Oh, my God. No, I'm not. I'm not defending them. I'm just defending people's rights as a United States citizen to assemble peacefully and to speak freely without being attacked. And obviously these people can't do that because these Antifa scumbags keep attacking them at every step of the way. You know, not just this. I mean, the Berkeley thing, when there was some white nationalists there. There wasn't a bunch of Nazis and all that shit, but there were definitely some white nationalists there. They still got attacked. Any other rallies that are just have anything to do with the right and bullshit values and white nationalism, whatever the hell they want to talk about, people are getting attacked. And I'm like, that's not right. That is not how things are supposed to be handled. That's it, man. Back in the day, this was like over a year ago, when some KKK members rallied in Anaheim, not too far away from me. I said, hey, it was bullshit that the Antifa showed up there and fought, and then somebody got stabbed, because they should have just had the right to assemble, those racist idiots, and then they would just went home, and then fucking whatever. Nobody would have gave a shit about them. But see what happens when you keep attacking these people, and when you keep egging them on, and when normal people keep saying that it's totally cool to punch these guys, they just gonna come back stronger and angrier, and then they're gonna come back armed. And then you have that fucking retard that actually killed somebody because shit's getting so escalated. And it's going to continue to happen as long as people keep advocating for bullshit and violence like this. And I'm like, you know this is not the right way to go. You know that you would hate if somebody started fighting you for simply disagreeing with you. Like, can you imagine if there was a Black Lives Matter movement or something like that, and they were just peacefully screeching, you know, and ringing, but then people showed up and started beating the fuck out of them? Would you think that was a good thing? Of course not. You wouldn't think it was good. The people that showed up to beat them would think it's a good thing. And, of course, you wouldn't want to side with them, so why are you siding with the Antifa now? It's fucking trash, man. If you want a real solution, if you want a real peaceful solution, why don't you take the road of this man named Daryl Davis? Daryl Davis has converted over 200 people that were in the KKK to renounce their racism and see a different path.
I never set out to convert anybody. In my quest, some of them ended up converting themselves.
This guy's doing great work. And simply saying punch Nazis isn't going to fix anything. It's only going to help their movement grow. These actual neo-Nazis. The white nationalists that are being labeled as everything under the sun. The alt-right. You know, just as a collective, all of these people on the super far left think all of these guys are Nazis. Maybe all of them have one common goal, is to preserve the white race and shit. But I wouldn't call them all Nazis, man. And wanting all of these motherfuckers punched and killed or whatever is stupid and is not going to fix anything. It's called hurting, not helping. And you guys need to start respecting the law and respecting the fucking First Amendment. Because without that shit, man, what are we?
Right on. Dude, follow this guy. He just goes by the name Some Black Guy. Some Black Guy. And the thing of it is that he is so fucking dead on about everything he said that I might as well drop the microphone now and quit the podcast. But I'm not going to. I mean, this dude he is right on. Respect the fucking law. You gotta see it from two sides. That is the imbalance that I'm talking about here, guys. The imbalance I'm talking about is it's okay to punch a Nazi, but don't you dare punch a fucking Antifa. Don't you dare fucking punch an Antifa, because you are being an oppressive white bastard. No, if an Antifa comes up to me and gets aggressive, I'm going to defend myself. That is my right. And from what I can tell, a lot of these guys, now I'm not talking about the idiots who wave the Nazi flag. I'm not talking about these guys who came with tiki torches and clubs. Well, maybe some of the guys with tiki torches weren't violent, but other guys with clubs and helmets and shit ready for battle. I'm not talking about these guys. Those guys should get the shit kicked out of them. There were probably peaceable people asking the same question, exactly like I pose on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Is it wrong to be white? Is it wrong to exist with pale skin these days? Is it? Is it a taste of our own medicine? Because I can tell you one thing. Me personally, the only person I have control over is me, is myself. And the person that I am, I do not judge somebody based on the color of their skin. There are several other factors from which to gain an opinion from somebody or of somebody that are so much more relevant and closer to the truth than just their skin color. Now, Shizzy's Lit Podcast, thank you for showing up in the chat room here, says, it's okay to be white, but it's not wrong to be white, but it is wrong if you think you're better. Let me give you guys a little history lesson. I've had to give this history lesson to multiple people. I was born son of a heroin addict. I was raised in a largely Latino community where I was chased and beat by Mexicans. You'd think that because of that history, I would turn out to be some kind of Mexican-hating motherfucker, right? No. No. My best friends are Mexican, Cuban, different Latin. I just get along with those folks better. A lot of white people are stuck up. And a lot of white people are fake. I deal with real people. And the real people, the people who are real, are these folks that I have chosen to surround myself with. Do I have white friends? Yes, I do. I have a couple. I married a white woman. But they had to be cool as fuck. They had to be humble. They had to be not fake. And that had nothing to do with their race. Nothing at all to do with their race. If you're cool as fuck, I'm cool with you. I have friends of every single nationality. In fact, this whole Antifa and white nationalist movement doesn't really bother me, except when somebody's telling me that I need to check my white privilege. Excuse me? Check my white privilege. Well, last time I checked, I'm middle class, guys. Maybe even lower middle class, being that I'm in California, this fucking shit stain of a state. Where everything costs a fucking mint. Where you go to McDonald's, you can't spend less than $10. You know, maybe in some other place. I mean, I'm doing all right. I have a job. I have a family, but I am straight up middle class. If you ever see my neighborhood, we're the only true white family or Caucasian American family on this neighborhood, on this block. Next door, the guy's white, his wife, Latina. We're like the only 6 white people on the street. Doesn't cause me a problem. Yeah, when my neighbors get drunk and start singing Mexican karaoke at 2 a.m, I get a little amused. But I don't go, you damn Mexicans, turn off your Mexican music. Fucking, who cares? If they were singing fucking Ozzy Osbourne and all drunk, I'd be fucking amused. I don't see the color of it. And thank you, Shizzy's Lit Podcast, says he likes my logic. Well, I'll make sure to listen to yours, man. Thank you for tuning in. You're a new listener. I like that. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't feel it personally unless I get attacked. And on Facebook, well, I kind of got myself into this, but my cousin, who, now, get this, you want to know more about culture. I was adopted into a Filipino family when I was about 14 years old. And that family has decided to marry out into every single nationality. So even if I wanted to be racist, I couldn't be. And they're all awesome people. Gay, straight, Philippine, of course, Korean, Italian, Hispanic, and white, myself. And we all get along just fine. Well, until I opened my mouth to one of my cousins who happens to be kind of an SJW. But But I see her point. She's kind of double minority because she's Filipino and she's lesbian, I guess you could say. She didn't like the word homosexual. Dude, my voice, after I talk for a living, so when I come onto this podcast, my voice is limited. By the end of it, I'm like, but anyway. So, a lot of white people trying to check me here on this one particular thread. Basically, I mentioned my beliefs, and this person says, POC or non-whites do not want to win. To not be treated like dirt is not winning. Well, the last time I checked, I do not treat people like dirt because of their race. I hardly treat people like dirt anyway. Everybody deserves to have respect, sir, ma'am. Look them in the eye when you speak to them. Give them their personal space. Shake their hand firmly. Give them a hug if the situation warrants it. My daughter goes to a school where I look forward to the hugs from an African-American lady who works there because she gives the best hugs. I just get all warm and tingly. And not in a perverted way, like in a nice way, because she's awesome. So, any of you people who think I'm racist, go fuck off. She continues, it's a human right. There are no sides. There is one right side, and it's the one trying to defend themselves and their fellow human citizens from hate and degrading beliefs. Really? Really? You mean the same side that attacks people who are protesting and not doing a damn thing other than acting stupid? Here's what I would do if I were in Antifa. Actually, I wouldn't be in an Antifa. I am too, what's the word, moderate to be an Antifa. I would, this is just me personally, I would look at all those frickin' Peckerwoods out there with their Nazi flags and their Confederate flags. I'd sit back, I'd pop some popcorn, and I'd watch the fun. Because there's nothing like watching idiots assemble. And then you don't give them any media coverage. You don't give them any say-so. You don't let them know that they are bothering you by attacking them and yelling at them. You suck! You don't do that. You ignore them. The opposite of love is not hate. It is indifference. Ignore them. They'll be able to have their little circle jerk of Nazism, and they will move along. And nothing will happen. Don't fall into the trap, Antifa. Don't fall into the trap that these white nationalists are setting for you. Do not walk in with weapons drawn. Do not walk in looking to be aggressive. Sit back and laugh because it's funny. You know what's not funny? Someone getting fucking stabbed. That's not funny. Someone getting hit, busted across the face. That's not funny. For exercising their First Amendment right. That is not funny. That is sad. And you think you're really, oh, we're making a difference. No, you're not. You're just giving more credence to their movement. People who were on the fence about being white nationalists, see you guys attacking them, and they've just gained another member because they're scared. You see how that works? Do you see how that works? Marinate in that for a minute. And if I were a white nationalist, I would continue to have my protests, and I would trigger the shit out of the other protesters. You know why? Because you know that they are going to jump their fence and attack you, which will get you media coverage, which will get your message spread all across the country. And hey, no press is bad press. I know that being a white nationalist or alt-right, something like that right now, is the equivalent. I mean, they have the popularity of shit streaks in a public toilet. I get that. They have the popularity of an unguarded fart in the middle of an elevator. I get that. But still, you talk about that unguarded fart when you get home. You carry that unguarded fart home to your wife or husband, and you say, man, this asshole had this unguarded fart in a fucking elevator. It stunk like shit, and it stays with you. Next time you see that guy, you get all weird because you know he was the guy who let loose of an unguarded fart in the elevator. He's affected you. He's in your mind. He's left a permanent impression. So Antifa, you're probably not going to listen to me other than to call me a racist. But if you want to really get it over on these white nationalists, ignore them. Don't go all fucking blah about everything. Just ignore their bullshit. And because it's great, I'm going to play this Rucka Rucka Ali song again.
I was gonna steal a car, but I'm white. I was gonna steal it and drive real far, but I'm white. Now I gotta walk around and not know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna break in your house, but I'm white. Come on, yo. I was gonna take your TV and your couch, but I'm white. Now I'm shopping at IKEA, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna run from the cops, but I'm white. I was gonna run when they told me to stop, but I'm white. Now I got a jaywalking ticket, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna smoke some crack, but I'm white. I was gonna throw my life off track, but I'm white. Now I gotta go to college, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna shoot some thugs, but I'm white. Sucker. I was gonna kill them and take their drugs, but I'm white. Now I'm paying for their food stamps, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna drink some Sprite, but I'm white. That's some good shit, man. It's good. A little malt liquor would've also been tight, but I'm white. Now I'm sipping mocha lattes with soy on the side. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna rob a bank, but I'm white. Was gonna take the money bag and say thanks, but I'm white. Now I gotta work on Wall Street, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I got me a real good life, cause I'm white. I got me a house, dog, kids, and wife, cause I'm white. I could retire when I'm 40, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I wrote this song of mine, cause I'm white. They're gonna call me racist online, cause I'm white. And if a black guy beats my ass up, I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. Yo, man, you try that new Greek yogurt? Oh, yeah. Good shit, organic shit, man. It's good shit, man. Yeah. I can't wait to invite over them new neighbors, man. Give them some kale chips. You know what I'm saying? That non-dairy, non-fat skim. Yeah. That's my shit. Oh, man, I just got that new Prius, man. You see that shit? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was just at the proctologist, dog. Yeah. What's that? That's a doctor for your asshole. I've been paying into my 401k. You don't pay my taxes and shit. Fucking IRS got me on audit. Oh, fuck that nigga. You catch them CMAs? Oh, yeah, man. I got this new washing machine, too. High efficiency, nigga.
That's fucking great, man. I'm gonna keep playing that song. I'm not even gonna choose another song for this evening. That is the perfect song for this evening. I'm already getting some blowback about this podcast on social media. Shows that I only have a few listeners, but you know, I think this will be pretty heavily downloaded one way or the other, because I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking the truth about what's going on in this country. And speaking of which, I've teamed up with the evil guy Shay, DJ Bad Guy, master of the evil show. We're going to be doing Rage Live with Guy Shay and Alan Wayne very soon, so do stay tuned for that. But what I'd like to get to here is Donald Trump. Okay, so he talks out of his ass a lot, and he says things that are, facepalm moments all the time, all over the place. Just like, dude, you don't get it. You really don't get what it's like. You just don't understand. But he's real. He's not a politician. That's one thing he's got going for him. It's also what makes him sound stupid sometimes. But I'm going to play a clip from earlier today. This was that press conference where, what Trump said just blew the internet a new fucking asshole. Everybody got all pissed. First, on Saturday when he said there's problems on many sides. Many sides. It's the worst Trump impression you'll ever hear. Many sides. He said that it was on many sides. So people said, that's not good enough, son. You got to condemn the KKK. So he puts out another statement, says, I condemn the KKK. Okay? He says that. He says, I condemn the KKK. And he says, white nationalists and all that. Of course, because I said all sides, right? He's like talking down to people like children. He's like, damn it! Don't you understand? I said all. All encasing. Everybody. Everything. I condemn it all. He's getting pissed off. Well, he wants to talk about infrastructure. Reporters don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about his statement or lack thereof over the weekend. So here's where it gets juicy, and I'll be cutting in with my commentary, here and there.
Why did you wait so long?
I didn't wait long. I didn't wait long. I wanted to make sure, unlike most politicians, that what I said was correct, not make a quick statement. The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement, was a fine statement, but you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact. It takes a little while to get the facts. You still don't know the facts.
All right, listen to what he said there. And he said that before. I don't like to make direct statements unless I know the facts. Imagine for a minute if members of Antifa, now this wouldn't happen necessarily, but imagine for a minute if members of Antifa decided to just bull rush about 10 peaceable, non-weaponized white nationalists, okay? Guys who are saying, white is right, bah! Poof! And they just bum rush them, right? Liberal news media gets a hold of it, and it turns into a whole Donnybrook. Donald Trump comes out and says, now just imagine for a moment, Donald Trump's like, those white bastards. We've got to kill them white bastards. And it's like, no, dude. 100 Antifa versus 10 white bastards. 10 white bastards. I like saying that. White bastards. What white bastards. So he wanted to get all the facts straight. Now, see, that already puts him at odds with not only the media, but with the left, because you're supposed to act like a monkey on fucking cocaine when you hear something like that. Ah! You're supposed to go crazy with outrage because you're not supposed to think logically. You're supposed to feel, man. It's hundreds of years of oppression and anger you're supposed to feel. And you're supposed to be angry about it. I condemn the KKK. That should never be something that it's not assumed you say, unless you have 3 teeth in your head and your name is Cletus. I will continue. Actually, President Trump will continue.
And it's a very, very important process to me, and it's a very important statement. So I don't want to go quickly and just make a statement for the sake of making a political statement. I want to know the facts. If you go back to in fact, I brought it. As I said on, remember this, Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And then I went on from there. Now, here's the thing. Excuse me. Take it nice and easy. Here's the thing. When I make a statement, I like to be correct. I want the facts. This event just happened. In fact, a lot of the event didn't even happen yet as we were speaking. This event just happened. Before I make a statement, I need the facts. So I don't want to rush into a statement. So making the statement when I made it was excellent. In fact, the young woman, who I hear is a fantastic young woman, and it was on NBC, her mother wrote me and said, through, I guess, Twitter, social media, the nicest things, and I very much appreciated that. I hear she was a fine, really actually an incredible young woman, but her mother on Twitter thanked me for what I said. And honestly, if the press were not fake, and if it was honest, the press would have said what I said was very nice. But unlike you and unlike the media.
All right, and here we go. Donald Trump gets a little defensive with the media when they start telling him that he hasn't done enough or he hasn't said enough. His mistake was that he didn't come out and automatically condemn the white nationalists only. Not that his mistake was being even-handed about it. By saying, and I use mistake in air quotes, because when he found out all the facts, he's like, yeah, those nationalists, but those Antifas, man, oof. And this is where Donald Trump loses it for most people. A lot of people like it when he talks tough about certain things that everybody agrees on. But when he talks tough and it's his opinion, he will never change his mind. He can be persuaded, but it takes time. He trusts his gut, and what his gut tells him is that there is trouble on both sides, that both sides were violent. And I have to agree with him. Both sides were violent. The white nationalists can say whatever the hell they want to. They're just baiting the Antifas. They're taking the bait. And yes, there's some idiots like that 20-year-old who drove his car into a bunch of people. But for the most part, white nationalists are not the ones throwing the first punch. What's the rule of a fight? I've always been taught you let the other guy throw the first punch. That way you can say you're defending yourself. And then you can beat their ass. Because it's self-defense. If you throw the first punch, you're at fault. And they can do whatever they want to you. But if they throw the first punch and they miss, God help them. Once again, I'm just don't get so frickin' butthurt, people. Don't get so frickin' butthurt. Where is your armor? Where is your self-confidence? This is to all the affected people. Where is your self-confidence? Where do you look in the mirror and say, I am a piece of shit? Because basically, if someone calls you a piece of shit and you get offended, then you are identifying as a piece of shit because you're mad. Don't let them do that to you. they say you're a piece of shit, say, fuck you, you know? Let it roll off your back. I've been insulted enough in my life, and believe me, I've been insulted. I'm still insulted to this day. A lot. If I didn't let it roll off my back and I was sensitive, oh man. You bet your ass I would have either cut my wrists or been swinging from a rope a while back. Be confident, be brave in who you are, stand up for your beliefs, and don't let these guys get in your head. Here's more Trump.
Before I make a statement, I like to know the facts. They don't. They don't. They don't. Listen, how about a couple of infrastructure questions?
Was that terrorism?
Say it. What?
CEO of Walmart said you missed a critical opportunity to help bring the country together. Did you?
Not at all. I think the country. Look, you take a look. I've created over 1 million jobs since I'm president. The country is booming. The stock market is setting records. We have the highest employment numbers we've ever had in the history of our country. We're doing record business. We have the highest levels of enthusiasm. So the head of Walmart, who I know, who's a very nice guy, was making a political statement. I mean, ask him how he's doing. I do it the same way, and you know why? Because I want to make sure, when I make a statement, that the statement is correct. And there was no way of making a correct statement that early. I had to see the facts, unlike a lot of reporters. I didn't know David Duke was there. I wanted to see the facts. And the facts, as they started coming out, were very well stated. In fact, everybody said his statement was beautiful. If he would have made it sooner, that would have been good. I couldn't have made it sooner because I didn't know all of the facts. Frankly, people still don't know all of the facts. It was very important to me. Excuse me. It was very important to me to get the facts out and correctly. Because if I would have made a fast statement, and the first statement was made without knowing much other than what we were seeing. The second statement was made with knowledge, with great knowledge. There's still things, there's still things that people don't know. I want to make a statement with knowledge. I wanted to know the facts. Okay.
Two questions. Was this terrorism? And can you tell us how you're feeling about your chief strategist?
Well, I think the driver of the car is a disgrace to himself, his family, and this country. And that is, you can call it terrorism. You can call it murder. You can call it whatever you want. I would just call it as the fastest one to come up with a good verdict. That's what I'd call it. Because there is a question. Is it murder? Is it terrorism? And then you get into legal semantics. The driver of the car is a murderer.
Okay, the driver of the car is a murderer. Nowhere here has Donald Trump put his support behind alt-right white nationalist movements. Nowhere here has Donald Trump not condemned the actions of those at the rally. Let's make that clear. Also, David Duke ain't doing him no favors. Trump should call David Duke and say, will you shut the fuck up? You are not doing me any favors, bro. I don't know if you know this, David Duke, and I'm speaking as Donald Trump. I don't know if you know this, David Duke, but you're kind of an asshole. You're fired.
What he did was a horrible, horrible, inexcusable thing.
Can you tell us how you're feeling about your chief strategist, Mr. Bannon? Can you talk about that?
I would echo Maggie's question. Steve Bannon is.
I never spoke to Mr. Bannon about it.
Can you tell us broadly what your? Do you still have confidence
Well,
in
we'll
Steve?
see. And look. I like Mr. Bannon. He's a friend of mine. But Mr. Bannon came on very late. You know that. I went through 17 senators, governors, and I won all the primaries. Mr. Bannon came on very much later than that. And I like him. He's a good man. He is not a racist, I can tell you that. He's a good person. He actually gets a very unfair press in that regard. But we'll see what happens with Mr. Bannon. But he's a good person, and I think the press treats him, frankly, very unfairly.
Do you have confidence that Senator McCain has called on you to defend your National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, against some of these attacks?
I did it the last time.
And he called on it again, linking this
Senator
to
McCain?
the alt-right. alt-right and
Senator
saying
McCain,
these-
you mean the one
yes.
who voted against Obamacare?
And he said
Who
that
is Senator? You mean Senator McCain who voted against us getting good health care?
McCain said that the alt-right is behind these attacks, and he linked that same group to those who perpetrated the attack in Charlottesville.
Well, I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm sure Senator McCain must know what he's talking about. But when you say the alt-right, define alt-right to me. You define it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying,
no, define it for me. Come on, let's go. Define
Senator
it for me.
McCain defined them as the same group.
Okay, what about the alt-left that came charging at him? Excuse me. What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
This is Senator McCain's statement.
Let me ask you this. What about the fact that they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do.
Of course not, according to the media. Of course not, because these people have been oppressed for so long. Yeah, they have absolutely no blame. So basically, the narrative that I'm hearing is Donald Trump's trying to say, well, what about these other people? What about these other people? And the narrative I'm hearing is, no. They get a free pass. They can do what they want. Violence is not okay. Punching Nazis is not okay. As some black guy said, and that's his proper name, I'm not going to answer that question again. He has a YouTube page, Some Black Guy. This is not the 40s. This is not Normandy. These are white, nose-picking, unbelievably low self-esteemed idiots who feel a calling and a movement. And you know, if you look on the other side of it, there's exactly the same thing going on. Kind of creepy, isn't it?
So, as far as I'm concerned, that was a horrible, horrible day. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. Fake news. That was a horrible day. I will tell you something. I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it. And you have you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent. Go ahead.
Do you think that what you call the alt-left is the same as neo-Nazis?
All of those people, excuse me, I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch. Those people were also there because they wanted to protest the taking down of a statue, Robert E. Lee. So, excuse me, and you take a look at some of the groups and you see, and you know it if you were honest reporters, which in many cases you're not, but many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. So, this week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? And is it Thomas Jefferson the week after?
He brings up a good point. Okay, I'm going to go off on a tangent for a bit about this because think about this, okay? People are knocking down Confederate monuments. In fact, out here in Los Angeles at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, they're going to take down a monument built for Confederate soldiers. You know why those were built? They were part of the healing process of the Civil War. True story. They were part of the healing process of the Civil War. There were brave men on both sides, regardless of belief, fighting for the Northern and the Southern. And besides, yes, the war was about slavery, but it was more about states' rights than slavery. Slavery is just the big sexy thing that gets people all pissed off. And I am not condoning slavery. God, please don't think I'm condoning slavery. My God. They'll say I'm racist online because I'm white. Anyway, so yeah, the war, the Civil War, these were meant to be healing things and tributes to men who did greatly for their cause. They were also meant to be historical lessons. Each of these monuments represents a time in American history. And what it appears to me that's happening is that our history is being erased, monument by monument. Instead of taking advantage of these monuments and maybe writing, I don't know, putting a brass plate on them, saying that the Confederacy, you could put a plate on them that said, Robert E. Lee fought for the Confederacy that supported slavery. This was from a time in history that this happened. And people could go, ooh, sit there, think about it. It's kind of like Auschwitz. Kind of like the Holocaust Museum. You walk in there and you look and you're like, oh, wow, look at this. All these awful things happened. And the monument itself is a representation of what happened then. It is not in support. It is basically a historical piece. And what it appears that people are doing right now is they are trying to destroy history. Well, a great man once said, if you forget history, you're bound to repeat it. And I think it's not too far off to say that there are some members of this society who wouldn't mind having white slaves. Let's continue with Trump.
You really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop? But they were there to protest. Excuse me. You take a look the night before. They were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. Infrastructure question. Go ahead.
Should statues of Robert E. Lee stay up?
I would say that's up to a local town, community, or the federal government, depending on where it is located.
Are you against the Confederacy? Race relations in America, and do you think things have gotten worse or better since he took office?
I think they've gotten better or the same. Look, they've been frayed for a long time, and you can ask President Obama about that because he'd make speeches about it. But I believe that the fact that I brought in, it will be soon, millions of jobs. You see where companies are moving back into our country. I think that's going to have a tremendous positive impact on race relations. We have companies coming back into our country. We have 2 car companies that just announced. We have Foxconn in Wisconsin just announced. We have many companies, I say, pouring back into the country. I think that's going to have a huge positive impact on race relations. You know why? It's jobs. What people want now, they want jobs. They want great jobs with good pay. And when they have that, you watch how race relations will be. And I'll tell you, we're spending a lot of money on the inner cities. We're fixing the inner cities. We're doing far more than anybody's done with respect to the inner cities. It's a priority for me.
Okay, so now Donald Trump is going on talking about the inner cities. Point being, I think everybody needs to get off of Donald Trump's nuts. And the reason I say that is because he doesn't make racist statements. He calls things as he sees them, and he's not a racist. He was saying, like, I've condemned these people. What more do you want me to do? Donald, if you're listening, and I doubt you are, let me tell you what they want you to do. They want you to fall on the floor and cry. Denounce everything you believe in and pray to them for forgiveness. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what is going on. Some of these people don't want equality. They want to win. They want power. I don't blame them. Power's great. And now I'm in a Facebook war. That's what that ding means. I'm in a Facebook war with my cousin, her fiance, or her wife. I'm not sure. Congratulations to them on that. I have nothing against, it's just like gay, straight, whatever. Let's give a play-by-play here really quick. if someone, or rather an entire group of people, this is my cousin, was chanting F you faggots, I'd hurt someone too. Also, violence is not just physical. As someone that the group was directly chanting to, what am I supposed to do? Have some enriching intellectual masturbatory dialogue about how we need to not fight hate with hate so we can feel like we're evolved and better than all this political unrest? Stop defending racists and just admit these sides are not the same already. I reply, those folks are bigoted idiots. Don't let them affect you. Give them no mind. If you act like they don't bother you, they will lose interest. Don't try to change their mind. Give them no mind. She says, are you seriously saying I should just let it go because that's worked so well throughout history, right? I mean, I guess for people who look like you, it has so that it makes sense for you to say that. And I'm sorry, but these people threaten so many parts of me and the people I love that I cannot give them no mind. I say, what is your solution? Violence? What good will that do? Then her fiancé replies, to be clear, Alan, you're suggesting, quote, paying no mind to racist, sexist, bigoted, deeply hateful individuals. By giving them attention, you only add to their power, I say. They are idiots. Pity them, I say. And then my cousin says, by sitting idly by with some popcorn is also giving them power. Back to my old popcorn thing, where I said I was just going to pop some popcorn and watch the show. I said, I can't fix stupid. These white nationalists are stupid. Then I say, I treat people well and don't have a racist bone in my body. I teach my children the same. What more can I do? And then fiance writes, I will 100% disagree with you on this. You have the upper hand here, man. Why not use your God-given privilege to speak against hate? God-given privilege. What? God-given privilege. But I was saying white national idiot. Does not compute. Why sit back and eat popcorn and let your children grow in a world so deeply rooted in hate for non-white individuals? Not in my world. Maybe in yours, but not in mine. Why sit idly by and let people be so deeply oppressed? I'll answer all these questions for you. You have nothing to lose here. Nothing! With an exclamation point. Nothing! Fantastic that you teach your children to not be racist. We need more of that, but also teaching them that they're white so they don't have to do a damn thing but sit on their asses and eat popcorn. They really latched onto that popcorn comment, I tell you. Then I say, okay, enough about the popcorn. It was a turn of phrase, a figure of speech. I live my life in a way to act as an example for my children and others. Fiancé replies, I don't care if it's popcorn or cookies, eat whatever food you want. The core of this issue is that you do nothing because you don't need to do anything. You, a white, cisgendered, heterosexual male, are the epitome of privilege. Oh my God! I'm so privileged with my $15,000 debts. I'm so privileged with my job. I work 40 hours a week, which I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for that. I'm so privileged. My God. The only thing that makes me privileged is my family, not my race. Privilege? Paige, are you privileged? Oop, said her name. Sorry. My cousin writes, do you want a pat on the back for not being racist or something? Well, yeah, I do, because you kind of hate white people, so yeah, that'd be nice. Congratulations, you're a decent human being and have done exactly what is expected of you. And I put, seems pretty good, all things considered. And then another friend jumps in. They already have all the power they need. I personally felt the people speaking out against their hate speech were an extension of myself. The individuals there rebuking those thoughts and hateful statements unite people who want to sustain freedom and eliminate hate by racists to their fellow Americans. We need to come together, not for ourselves, but for everyone. I agree with this. Norms aren't created by hoping they are. We have to declare something is wrong and not fitting with the way we want to live. It does matter. It matters for your kids and their future friends and the climate they grow. And then the fiancé, who happens to be Caucasian. Hell yeah, I'm privileged. I'm white. I fully recognize my privilege. I fully recognize that a POC, or person of color, a POC, has the battle to fight in the U.S., and the color of my skin grants me privileges a POC might never be granted. I fully recognize that for every dollar I make, a POC is making less by 20 cents. That number drastically shifts because you are a man. I work every day to recognize my privilege and try to work to provide people of color the same privilege I am granted for the simple color of my skin. Okay, now that we've read that, let's just marinate on that for just a minute. Is it a more degrading statement for me to say that I don't feel the privilege? Or what she just said by saying I am privileged and I try to work people up to my level of privilege? Think on that. We're going to play a little more Rucka Rucka Ali again.
I was gonna steal a car, but I'm white. I was gonna steal it and drive real far, but I'm white. Now I gotta walk around and not know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna break in your house, but I'm white. Come on, yo. I was gonna take your TV and your couch, but I'm white. Now I'm shopping at IKEA, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna run from the cops, but I'm white. I was gonna run when they told me to stop, but I'm white. Now I got a jaywalking ticket, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna smoke some crack, but I'm white. I was gonna throw my life off track, but I'm white. Now I gotta go to college, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna shoot some thugs, but I'm white. Sucker. I was gonna kill them and take their drugs, but I'm white. Now I'm paying for their food stamps, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna drink some Sprite, but I'm white. That's some good shit, man. It's good. A little malt liquor would've also been tight, but I'm white. Now I'm sipping mocha lattes with soy on the side. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I was gonna rob a bank, but I'm white. Was gonna take the money bag and say thanks, but I'm white. Now I gotta work on Wall Street, and I know why. Why, nigga? Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I got me a real good life, cause I'm white. I got me a house, dog, kids, and wife, cause I'm white. I could retire when I'm 40, and I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. I wrote this song of mine, cause I'm white. I'm white. They're gonna call me racist online, cause I'm white. And if a black guy beats my ass up, I know why. Yeah, cause I'm white, because I'm white, because I'm white. Yo, man, you try that new Greek yogurt? Oh, yeah. It's good shit, organic shit, man. It's a good shit, man. Yeah. I can't wait to invite over them new neighbors, man. Give them some kale chips. You know what I'm saying? That non-dairy, non-fat skim. Yeah. Oh, man, I just got that new Prius, man. You see that shit? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was just at the proctologist, dog. Yeah. What's that?
All right, I just got some gold here on my Facebook page. Some real gold here. Real super gold. Also, by the way, I just found out that someone smashed a window out of the Holocaust monument. Now, okay, so you see what's happening here is that violence begets violence. And now these idiots who have been attacked by the Antifa and the alt-right are responding like the Goombas they are by being violent morons. Now listen to this. This is from 1943. The U.S. War Department released this video to tell Americans not to fall for fascist rhetoric. Share this video if you've heard language like this recently. If you guys ever thought that I was a supremacist or anything like that, I hope that playing this video and saying that I vehemently disagree with the rhetoric that the main character is blustering, and I fully agree with the spirit of the video, kind of gives you guys some clarity.
I happen to know the facts. Now, friends, I'm just an average American. But I'm an American. And some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil. I see people with foreign money. I see Negroes holding jobs that belong to me and you. Now I ask you, if we allow this thing to go on, what's going to become of us real Americans?
I've heard this kind of talk before, but I never expected to hear it in America.
The truth about Negroes and foreigners. The truth about the Catholic Church.
Do you believe in that kind of talk?
I don't know, makes pretty good sense to me. And I tell you, friends, we'll never be able to call this country our own until it's a country without. Without what? Yeah, without what? Without Negroes. Without alien foreigners. Without Catholics. Without Freemasons. You know these people.
What's wrong with the Masons? I'm a Mason. Hey, that fellow's talking about me. And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
These are your enemies. These are the people who are trying to take over our country. Now you know them. You know what they stand for. And it's up to you and me to fight them. Fight them and destroy them before they destroy us.
Before he said Masons, you were ready to agree with him.
Well, yes, but he was talking about... What about those other people?
But in this country, we have no other people. We are American people.
What about you? You aren't American, right?
I was born in Hungary, but now I am an American citizen. And I have seen what this kind of talk can do. I saw it in Berlin. I heard the same words we have heard today. But I was a fool then. I thought Nazis were crazy people, stupid fanatics. But unfortunately, it was not so. You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us. Made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it. And it isn't going to be you.
That comes from Al Jazeera English. And that is awesome right there. That is perfect speech of what I feel America should be. Not the guy talking about we don't need foreigners and all that stuff, but the gentleman who spoke with a Hungarian accent. That gentleman was right on. We are all Americans, and I think we're forgetting that at this point. I think we're forgetting that we are all Americans. And we're quibbling and trying to separate ourselves. Dare I say, segregate ourselves. But see, as I was telling my cousin, if you pay these idiots no mind and live your life to the best of your ability and pass on your gifts and be a good human being to everyone, then, and if you have the confidence in yourself to be a good human being, then these people don't mean anything. They'll disappear. They're far too weak, as that piece of audio just said. They are far too weak to take on anyone by themselves or any group by themselves. So I plead once again with the left, please think of the great leaders, Dr. King, Gandhi. Think of these great people who fought for peace rather than conflict. I know you're pissed off. I know you're upset. The person in charge is not the person you wanted to be in charge. You may feel that life is just so hard for you. But people in your similar situations have made something of their lives, and they've passed on their good fortune. I am not privileged. I've had to work hard. I've never been handed a thing in my life. Sure, I've received helping hands every now and then, but I've never been handed anything because of some sort of vacuous white privilege. In fact, every job I've gone to, I'm surprised I've stayed. It seems like every job I go to, I get in trouble. And what kind of privilege is that? It's no privilege at all. But it's all about a point of view. It really is. It's all about a point of view. And sensitivity can really lead to some ugly situations. I've been waiting to play this audio for the very last because why not go out with a bang? This really pisses me off. Back in October, a Yale professor dared to say that this culture that we live in is actually stifling free speech. She was completely and utterly denounced, vilified by the students of Yale University. Her husband, who was also a professor, met a group of students who were outside of their, I guess you could say their portion of they worked for a certain wing of the university, I forget which, but went out to confront these youths. And here's what happened.
You abhor racism. Okay. So we're sitting here telling you that you are being racist. You are being offensive. You admitted that you hurt us. Why can't you say sorry?
That has been my biggest reaction from this email, is that you're not listening. It is no longer a safe space for me. And I find that incredibly depressing because
Jesus Christ, I'm already pissed. You are racist. Basically what they said is a free exchange of ideas. Talk to someone of another race. Try to understand them. Try to understand where they're coming from. But no, that's not good enough.
I feel that in your role as master and associate master, after sending that email and after not having an appropriate response, that our opinion has been dismissed. That you guys have not said, I hear you. I hear that you are hurting, and I am sorry that I have caused you to feel pain.
Okay, in the real world, people are not sorry that they cause you to feel pain. Let's get that out there right now. These people are professors who are trying to teach you, students of Yale, what the real world is all about. Nowhere in those emails, and I've read those emails, was there any insult to any particular student. These students decided to take... Now notice the one particular student speaking there said appropriate response. I'm sorry I hurt you. The farthest I would go would be, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. That is not what I meant. But it continues.
I've not heard that from you, and I've not heard that from your wife. And that is what I want to hear. I don't want to hear any more defensive terms because it's not fair to us.
Yeah. The moral of Michaela's comment just now, the moral of the story is that she wants an apology, yet you respond not with an apology. I still think that the phrase hurt feelings
Okay, tell me the phrase you want me to use, I'll use it.
I don't know, was an expression of racism.
I wanted you to statement was racist. I wanted you to statement was racist. I wanted you to statement was racist. I wanted you to statement was racist.
So then apologize!
I want to make sure.
I don't understand, what is the issue?
Can I?
Oh my God, the wailing. He's trying to say, look, this is what we meant, and these students won't let him talk. They're like, we want an apology, and we're not going to leave until we get one. He doesn't feel like he has a need to apologize. It's a free country. And yet, not so much.
I
say?
Let us define our
If I cannot,
let us tell you if you're being racist.
Okay, no.
Hold on, that is actually how.
That's great. Let us tell you that you're being racist. This is all about a Halloween costume, by the way. Somebody wore a Halloween costume that was ethnically themed and everybody lost their minds. A Halloween costume. A costume for a holiday that is full of pleasure and enjoyment. A time where you can be whatever you want to be, do whatever you want to do, dress in any costume you see fit. That's the point of Halloween. If somebody dresses as a ghost, is that offending the dead? If someone dresses as a wolf, is that offending the canine population? Let's go down the slippery slope, guys. Now, if somebody dresses up in something extremely heinous, this was like a sombrero and the sorority held a Mexican taco party or whatever. Also, another piece that goes to this, ESPN today held a fantasy football draft, a mock fantasy football draft, and a bunch of experts it was actually an auction. And poorly conceived in today's day and age, they were auctioning off players by proxy to where they would go. Somebody compared it to slave trade. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go with it.
1 second. If I smile, it's seeming like I'm dismissing.
I
want you to own the fact, all of you, to own the fact that it's very easy to take something I say and misinterpret it. Okay? That's part of it. So I'm trying very hard to talk to you, to show you the kind of person that I am. Let me say something else. So I have a vision of us as people, as human beings.
Yes.
That actually privileges our common humanity. That is interested not in what is different among us, but what is the same. Okay? And so we all have the capacity, I believe.
Okay,
let me finish one sentence. I believe, even though I have a different life experience than you, even though I have a different skin color and gender than you, I believe there are parts of your experience that I can understand as a human being.
Hold on,
one idea at a time. One idea at a time. If you want to just look for reasons to either to think ill of me, you are free to do so. But if you'd like to, I understand you think ill of me. But if you want to hear what I have to say, and you want to actually, act in a way that is like people who are interested in a conversation, then let me at least address as a human being one thing at a time. Not like the mob that's trying to get me to see different things. Like I was just saying, I have a vision of ourselves that unites our common humanity.
By the way, as an audiophile who takes my audio very seriously, that music was way too high. I know it was supposed to be like, bomb, ba bomb, ba bomb, he's making a point, but don't drown the poor man out, please. Just pick up a manual or something.
Okay? So I believe, even though I'm not like you in the sense of my superficial appearance, that I can sit down and talk to you and understand your predicament.
I am sick looking at you. I am disgusted watching Lex argue with you. You were not listening. You were disgusting.
Okay, so this guy says, I want to be able to understand I want us to come together. And what is he greeted with? You are disgusting.
Right now. Look at me.
Yes.
Look at me.
Yes.
Do you understand? You and I are not the same person. We're humans. Great. Glad we understand that. But your experiences will never connect to mine. Empathy is not necessary for you to understand that you're wrong. Okay? Even if you don't feel what I feel ever, even if nobody's ever been racist to you, because they can't be 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 racist to you.
That was edited obviously for a point of reference. That was actually very well done there. Can't be racist to you. Anyone can be racist to anyone. The Webster's Dictionary defines racism as a negative opinion of somebody or discrimination based on their race, based on a different race, or being because they are of a different race. That can happen to anyone. It's happened to me. That can happen. And I am the epitome of privilege, so I've been told. It can happen to me. It can happen to this guy. But one of the Yale students does not agree. This train wreck continues.
That doesn't mean that you can just act like you're not being racist.
Well, I don't want to ignore her, by the way, so now the other guys are taking over. I want to come back to you.
You don't need to maintain the power in this situation.
Right.
I was very close and I was shaking your hand, but I need you to understand.
All right.
The situation right now does not require you to smile.
All right,
Why
so
do
that
you care so much?
I'm apologizing again. She says to me,
I don't want to use the word pain.
no pain. I'm sorry I caused you pain. Yes, yes,
What
thank
you
you.
did was create space for violence to happen.
That I disagree with. That I disagree. I disagree.
It's not a debate. It's
That I
not
disagree with.
a
I'm
debate.
That's exactly right, because a debate is between two sides that get to speak their mind. And when they do speak their mind, they are not jumped on, or at least in a perfect world. But yeah, the presidential debates weren't like that. Yeah, debates are shit shows, period, based on what's going on in the world.
My home, and you came in here. You adapt to me.
And regardless of what we said, it hurt. I don't want this to come across as the wrong way, but it hurt your feelings and many people's feelings.
Okay,
but the feelings, you can argue with the word. I don't want to offend you by suggesting the wrong word. I know it's more than your feelings, okay?
And you cannot come in here and change things. This has been our home. Do you understand that?
Understand the concept of gaslighting, because that is what you are doing. You strip people of their humanity. It is not the same as not playing an instrument.
No, I'm making an analogy.
If you have created space for violence,
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
You don't get a choice here.
It sounds to me like they're creating a space for violence because they are being the aggressors, in my humble opinion. And they're talking about safe space, except when it comes to their views.
I disagree that I've fostered violence. I disagree with that statement.
I do not respect you.
I don't hear that.
I'm looking at the smirk in your face and I'm disgusted. Now I am actually angry, sir. I really do not interrupt me. I was not angry, and now I want your job to be taken from you. Okay? Understand that. Look me in my face, first of all, and understand that you are such a disappointment to this university, to your students, to yourself, to the things that you claim to agree with. You are my life knowing that you are going to be the disgusting man you were 20 seconds ago, a minute ago, 30 minutes ago, an hour ago, a week ago, and onward.
No, I don't agree with that.
Then why the fuck did you accept the position?
Because
Who the fuck hired you?
I have a different
You
vision
should
than you.
step down. If that is what you think about being a master, you should step down. It is not about creating an intellectual space. It is not. Do you understand that? It's about creating a home here. You are not doing that.
You're supposed to be our advocate.
You should be at the event last night when you hear her Franco say that she doesn't know how to create a safe space for her freshmen in Silliman. How do you explain that? These freshmen come here, they think this is what Yale is? Freshmen come here, they think this is what Yale is? 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 This is what Yale is?
All right, a little bit of...
You should not sleep at night. We're out. You're disgusting.
There was a little bit of commentary there, but the point is that this poor man went down to defend his wife and basically opened the eyes of these people, these children, and they do not want their eyes opened. They want to continue to be blind. And they said, make a home here at Yale. A home? A university is not supposed to be a home. A university is supposed to be uncomfortable. It is supposed to challenge you, get you ready for the real world. A university is not supposed to be a home. It is supposed to be a place of learning where you grow, and growing hurts. If there's anything that I can conclude with this evening, it's that we are, as a society, going down the wrong path. The world is not fair. It is not easy. The world is not supposed to be easy. The toughest thing a lot of people do is wake up in the morning and face a life that they don't enjoy. But you know what makes it better? Perseverance. Persevering through the pain, through the bullshit, through everything, and actually doing something with your life and making a difference. It's not about being comfortable, folks. It's about being uncomfortable so you may have comfort at some point. At this point in your life, being a young person, talking to young people, like I'm an old fart, you need to understand that life is not supposed to be easy. Life is challenging, but that's what makes life worthwhile. Not getting things handed to you, not getting your way all the time. It's when you get your way and you've worked for it, and you work hard. This professor wanted to basically say he feels that people should be equal and make up their own minds. These students, who are the future of this country, do not agree. I'm Alan Wayne. Thank you for listening. God bless America. And after the events recently, God help us all. Thank you for listening to the Random Bites podcast. Remember to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play, and remember to look us up on iHeart Radio. Also, become a part of the radio revolution by donating on Patreon, www.patreon.com. Just look for the Random Internet Radio Show. And don't forget, you can hear the Random Internet Radio Show live every Saturday night only on Spreaker.com. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, always be random.